Egypt is a land of so many wonderful things that it's hard to grasp it all in a 7-day trip. Nowhere else is such a long history revealed by preserved temples and tombs, built on a superhuman scale. Leaving from New York, our flight time is about 10 hours, with a brief stop in Paris. Persia ruled Egypt in the 5th century BC, when the Greek historian Herodotus visited the Nile Valley. His delightful account of the trip combined hearsay, myth, and personal observation. Egyptologists have divided Egypt's history into 30 dynasties, and divided the dynasties into 3 great periods called the Old Kingdom, the Middle Kingdom, and the New Kingdom. Each of the 3 kingdoms can be characterized by certain accomplishments. Old Kingdom pharaohs raised the pyramids at the edge of the Western Desert. Middle Kingdom pharaohs consolidated power by controlling the nobles. The New Kingdom ushered in the nation's zenith as a military power. At the end of the New Kingdom, about 1100 BC, Egypt began to decline. Egypt soon endured wave after wave of invaders, culminating in the conquest by Alexander the Great in 332 BC. In 640 AD, the Arab conquest caused a long silence to settle over the country. Travel grew difficult and dangerous. Even now, with recent terrorist activities in Asyut province, we find the Egypt Air flight nearly empty, crippling Egypt's tourism industry and raising our own level of uncertainty. The adventure begins as soon as we land in Cairo, the capital of Egypt and Africa's largest city. A city like Cairo can challenge the senses, with its constant buzz of activity, modern downtown section, and primitive neighborhoods. Let's get started with the Giza Plateau Sound and Light Show.
The desert has crossed the centuries.
The first voice we hear is the Sphinx, recalling the ancient history of Egypt.
With each new dawn, I see the sun god rise on the far bank of the Nile. His first ray is for my face, which is turned towards him. And for 5,000 years, I have seen all the suns men can remember come up in the sky. I saw the history of Egypt in its first glow, as tomorrow I shall see the east burning with a new flame. I am the faithful warden at the foot of his Lord, so faithful, so vigilant, so near him that he gave me his face for my own. I am a pharaoh's companion, and I am he, the pharaoh. Through the ages, I received many names from the people who came to me in adoration. But the name which has remained with me is that given to me by a Greek traveler, the father of history, Herodotus. He called me Sphinx, as if I were from his land, and that name is now mine.
Tomb of Cheops. Pharaoh of the 4th dynasty, 4,500 years ago. Here is the great pyramid which he built to defend himself against death.
455 feet high. He achieved the building of the highest monument then known to man. The area it covers is vast enough to hold St. Peter's Cathedral in Rome, the cathedrals of Florence and Milan, Westminster Abbey and St. Paul's. 3 million blocks of stone, some of them weighing 30 tons, were assembled by Cheops' faithful workmen who achieved this fabulous construction. At the center of it, the pharaoh planned his inner chamber, where his mummy was to lie in splendor for eternity.
At the foot of him is a small ivory figure, showing a noble face, the nose aquiline, the jaw determined, and the hieroglyphs representing the name he gave to his pyramid. Cheops dominates the horizon.
The Pyramid of Khephren. It too bears an inscription, Khephren is great. Yet, out of respect for his father Cheops, Khephren built his pyramid on a slightly smaller scale. Each side of the base measuring 710 feet, the angle being 52 degrees, it reaches a height of 445 feet. The brilliant covering of polished limestone on the apex originally extended over all four sides, adding to the magnificence of the pyramid.
The face of Khephren has come down to us sculpted in green diorite streaked with white, a rare stone he brought back from an expedition. Here he is, close to us, in the guise of the Sphinx, carved in rock near his tomb. Mykerinus.
A third monumental tomb was soon to complete this immense funeral site of Gizeh and make it one of the wonders of the world. Though smaller, the Pyramid of Mykerinus is perhaps the most impressive for being the culminating point of a vast design. Having built it, the workmen climbed down from its granite flanks and, laying down their tools, looked up with wonderment.
In the course of time, only human achievements crumble and fall. But the spirit which conceived these monuments cannot perish.
After that interesting start to our trip, we are ready to call it a day, but not until we navigate through the incredible Cairo traffic, with continuously blowing horns a way of life. The Egyptian Museum opened in 1902. It contains some 150,000 artifacts produced over a period of more than 5,000 years. All kings had to be represented in the royal position, with colorful headdress, false straight beard, holding something in the hand, either a handkerchief or roll of papyrus, wearing the royal skirt called shin deeth. Both Upper and Lower Egypt were unified at the time of this king. In hieroglyphics, it's called the Sematawi, symbolized by the lotus and papyrus, the unification between the two lands. The central feature of the Sematawi is a pair of lungs with a long vertical windpipe. If you're standing in front of the statue, you can't see what's behind the head. It's the falcon, representing the god Horus, son of Isis and Osiris. The statue was discovered in a pit inside Khafre's Valley Temple, which we will visit tomorrow. Our guide explains the meaning of the different beard shapes we will see on various statues or paintings. If the beard is straight, that means the king was alive. If it's curled, then it's either a god or the king was dead when the sculpture was made. Can you pronounce her name? Hot Chicken Soup, or Hatshepsut. She was the stepmother of Thutmose III. When she took over the throne, she said, "I'm not only a queen, but I'm also a king." And she had to be represented in this very masculine way. The treasures of King Tut were discovered by Howard Carter in 1922 in the Valley of the Kings. The second coffin is made from gold sheet and inlaid with thousands of colored tiles made from glass paste. Each tile was made to fit and glued in place. The technique is called cloisonne. King Tut's funerary mask is made of gold sheet weighing 24 pounds. The deep blue highlights are made from glass paste and lapis lazuli. The eyes are inlaid with quartz and obsidian.
There it is, jammies. Arizona, we were born in Arizona. Got a condo made of stone.
To try and comprehend the magnitude of the discovery and the great quantity of items found, consider this fact. It took Howard Carter 10 years to empty the small rooms. The inner coffin is made from 240 pounds of solid gold sheet, with an estimated value of $2.3 million if melted down. The artistry rivals anything that could be produced today. It is 73 inches long by 20 inches wide by 20 inches deep. The magnificent canopic shrine was found in the treasury room facing the burial chamber. The 4 elegant statues on each side of the shrine depict the goddesses Isis, Nephthys, Neith, and Selkis. They all wear caps from which long hair emerges to drape down their backs. The shrine contained a masterpiece canopic chest made of translucent calcite, with 4 beautifully carved heads as stoppers. Inside the chest, Howard Carter found 4 miniature coffins, exact replicas of the second coffin in which King Tut was buried. This is an outstanding masterpiece of gold craftsmanship. The coffins contain the internal organs of the pharaoh. Howard Carter discovered this beautiful chalice-shaped lamp carved from a single piece of translucent calcite. The chalice is in the form of a lotus flower and is flanked by the god He, kneeling on papyrus plants and holding an Ankh sign next to the cartouche of King Tut. When the lamp was lit, a sophisticated painted scene would appear. The surprising effect is achieved by means of a smaller cup inside. The royal throne is made of wood covered in gold leaf. The beautifully crafted scene on the back is made of silver, cornelian, and lapis lazuli. The next morning, we fly from Cairo to Abu Simbel, 660 miles south and only 20 miles from the Sudan border. This area was known as Nubia. We are flying over Lake Nasser, created when the Nile River was dammed in Aswan for hydroelectric power. The rising water threatened to completely cover the temple complex known as Abu Simbel. Between 1964 and 1968, an international team of experts cut the entire temple into large blocks, dismantled and reassembled it 65 meters higher and 200 meters back from the river at a cost of $80 million. Our flight path gives us a great view of this site. The two great mounds at the edge of the lake are man-made mountains, built to house the reconstructed temples. The twin temples were carved during the 13th century BC by the pharaoh Ramses II as a lasting monument to himself and his queen Nefertari, to commemorate his alleged victory at the Battle of Kadesh and to intimidate his Nubian neighbors. The facade of the Great Temple is 108 feet high by 125 feet across. 4 colossal statues of Ramses II dominate the space. They are wearing the double crown of Upper and Lower Egypt. Situated a short distance away is the small temple dedicated to Ramses' favorite wife, Queen Nefertari. In a niche above the doorway stands the sun god, a falcon-headed representation of Ramses holding a war scepter. The doorway leads into a grand hall which is 52 feet wide by 57 feet high and 185 feet deep. The grand hall is supported by 8 pillars carved in the image of Ramses II. The wall reliefs depict Ramses slaughtering captives in front of the sun god Amun-Ra and storming a fortress with 3 of his sons during the Battle of Kadesh.
Now we are in the sanctuary, the Holy of Holies. It's the smallest part of the temple, but it was the most sacred part. Was opened only for the high priest and the king. The high priest was making the daily ceremonies here. There are 4 statues represent the gods of the temple. From the right, Ra-Urakhti, god of the rising sun. Ramses II, the king who built the temple, he is shown as a god here. Amun-Ra, the sun god, God Betah, god of underworld and darkness. The interesting thing in this temple, that the light of the sun illuminates here twice a year. The first rays at 6 o'clock in the morning, coming through the door, shines on the statues for 20 minutes. At the ancient location, that was happening on 21st of February and 21st of October. After moving the temple up here, it changed into 22nd of February and 22nd of October. It's 64 meters higher. It made 1 day later. And the sun shines only on the 3 statues on the right. Ra, Ramses, and Amun. They had connection with the sun worship. It doesn't shine on Betah, who considered to be god of darkness.
In Aswan, we board a felucca for a sail around the nearby islands. The riverbank was lined with giant riverboats, like the one we will be on for the next few days. The felucca is the traditional Egyptian sailing ship, and it's well suited for navigating the Nile River. The view over the Nile in Aswan is incredible. The dry desert air and ideal temperatures make this oasis a must-see. The next day, our guide takes us to an ancient quarry where all the red granite used to build temples, statues, and obelisks came from. The visit is highlighted by the unfinished obelisk, the largest ever attempted. It developed cracks during its construction, and it's still attached at the bottom. It would have stood 137 feet high and weighed 1,168 tons. The base measures 14 feet across. The obelisk was a symbol for the sun god Ra. The sun god Ra was thought to have created himself out of nothing, and after that he created the whole world. So when we look at an obelisk, the pyramid-shaped top was the throne for the sun god Ra. The red granite was very hard to work, and must have taken a very long time to prepare a block for its trip to a far-off temple site, carried by boat during the flooding of the Nile. The site shows us the ancient Egyptian stoneworking techniques, with marks from workmen's tools still clearly visible. We can climb down one of the cuts to see how tight the working conditions were. Immediately after leaving the quarry, we board a taxi boat for a short cruise to one of the best temples, because this temple covers 4 eras: the Pharaonic, Greek, Roman, and Christian eras. When the Greeks came to Nubia, they found the people here worshiping the goddess Isis, so they added their own designs to this Pharaonic temple and dedicated it to Isis. Then the Romans and Christians added to it to suit their needs. The Christians even changed it into a church by carving the ancient symbol of the cross into its walls. This is Philae Temple. This area was known as the Pear of Egypt because there were a lot of orchards around. It was considered paradise. Looking across the open court, about 100 meters away, we can see the pylon or gate of the temple. It's constructed with 2 towers with an opening in the middle. Once inside the temple, we enter a room called Mamizi.
We call it Mamizi. Mamizi is a classical Christian expression. Means Ma is place, Mizi is birth. So Mamizi is the place of birth. 3 chambers, 3 rooms. The first one, which is not decorated. The second one, we're now standing inside. The third one, we're going to see now.
After exiting the Mamizi, we go deeper into the temple, to the most sacred place. The sanctuary, or Holy of the Holies, was the most important place inside any temple. Only the pharaoh and the high priest were allowed to enter. The common people were only allowed to enter the open court. You'll notice that this pedestal is made of red granite. In fact, all the red granite statues, temples, and obelisks found in Egypt or elsewhere in the world, even in Cairo, even in Central Park in New York, even by the Thames in London, even in the Place de la Concorde in Paris, even in the Vatican in Rome, even in Istanbul, Turkey. All these objects taken from Egypt were made of red granite from the quarries of Aswan. Upon the pedestal was a sacred boat made of wood. Inside the sacred boat was a statue of the god or goddess. In this case, a statue of the goddess Isis would be displayed and carried on the shoulders of the high priest during a festival.
This cartouche is the name for the king and the queen only, not the god, not the goddess. All the time, we must find 2 cartouches either in front of the head of the king or the queen or above the head. If the 2 cartouches were behind the head, couldn't be the king, couldn't be a queen, could be anyone else. So the king or the queen only, 2 cartouches in front of the head or above the head. What about the god, like Isis? The god or the goddess, the name is to be written in hieroglyphic in front of the face, but not in a cartouche. So how can you tell with experience? For example, Isis is all the time with the sun disk or the 2 horns. So this is Isis. Horus is all the time the falcon-headed god. Osiris is with a burnt beard like this, holding flail and scepter. So by experience, you know one of the Greek kings. He's presenting 4 towers, 1, 2, 3, 4 towers in front of the goddess Isis. Goddess Isis as the mother, and the one in front of her is the king of Upper and Lower Egypt, wearing the double crown. He's suckling at the base of his feet, the cartouche together with us. This is the letter P in hieroglyphic, okay? P, and this is T, half moon or half the sun disk. P-T. You see the line? The line is the letter L. So P-T-L, tell, okay? And this is M, okay? Telem. This is W, telem, okay? Here, if you have a look at this letter, this is I. When you put 2 like this, that means Y. Okay, so one of them is I or E, and 2 together are Y. So Ptolemy, and this is the S, Ptolemies. Ptolemies is one of the titles of the Ptolemies, you know, like Ptolemies are the successors of Alexander the Great. Okay, so Ptolemies is one of the names of the Greek kings. So that's how to read it.
The interesting thing about this temple is its location. It is about 1 kilometer from its original site. Like Abu Simbel, this temple had to be moved to higher ground due to flooding caused by the Aswan Dam project. Returning to Aswan, we board the Queen of Sheba, our Nile cruise boat, which will take us to our next destination, the twin temple called Kom-Ombo. This temple is called Kom-Ombo. When the Greeks and Romans came to Egypt, they found many double terms used like lotus and papyrus, the symbol of Upper and Lower Egypt, the double crown of Upper and Lower Egypt. So they said they had to build a temple dedicated to two gods. This temple may appear to be just one temple, but upon closer inspection, you will see two entrances. The entrance on the left is for the falcon-headed god Horus. The entrance on the right is for the crocodile-headed god Sobek, representing the god of evil. We are standing in the open court of the temple, where the common people were allowed. The columns were damaged by flooding, but the upper half still reveals some of the original colors.
The god of Upper and Lower Egypt, he's giving something like a knife in front of the Ptolemy number 12. This one is the father of Cleopatra Cleopatra the 7th, Elizabeth Taylor. This one is Cleopatra the 5th, Cleopatra the mother. This one is Cleopatra number 6, the elder sister, So none of these two figures is of Cleopatra the 7th, the famous one, the one that she ruled Egypt at that time. This is Cleopatra the mother, Cleopatra the elder sister, and this is the father, the Ptolemy number 12. This one, Horus, is the god of Upper and Lower Egypt. He's giving something like a knife to help the king to make a control upon the enemy. Now, I will show you a traditional figure or traditional scene. We call it purification scene. How did I say, or why did I say that this one is the king, not this one or that one? Where? Above. I said that for a king or a queen, we must find two cartouches, either in front of the head or above the head. If they are behind the head, couldn't be the king. What about the god, like this one or a goddess? No cartouche. The name is written in front of the face, but no cartouche. We know them by experience. This one is Horus, the falcon. This one is the ibis. God of what? Literature, wisdom, and writing down. Anyway, this one is the king of Upper and Lower Egypt. Is between two gods. Horus, the falcon-headed god, god of the sky, and the ibis-headed god. You see this bird in Aswan, the white bird with the long beak, ibis, or the ibis. This god is god of wisdom. He's the god of literature. The two are purifying. They are purifying the king of Upper and Lower Egypt. They are not purifying him with water, but they are purifying him with two signs. One of them is the Ankh. What does it mean, the Ankh? Key of a life. This is key of a life or life. This one is Was. Was in hieroglyphic means prosperity. So as if the two gods are giving the king life and they are giving him prosperity. This is something symbolic. We call it purification seal. Horus, Thut, god of literature and the king of Upper and Lower Egypt. Okay? So that one will find the line. This one means one a day. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got 6 days. You see the letter U upside down like the horseshoe, huh? This is upside down means 10. So we've got 6 and 2 10s, huh? This is the day number 26. You see the moon or the sun days? This is the number of the day, like the 21st day, the 22nd day, the 23rd. So this is the 26th day, huh? The day number 26. What about this day? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 2 10s, the 27th, the 28th. Okay? Have a look at this 2U upside down 2 10s. So this 20. This one is 9. So 29th is the end of a month and beginning of another month. These lion's head goddesses, 1, 2, 3 are 3 symbols for the three seasons: inundation, cultivation, and harvest season. It's time now to have a look in front at Hatib. In Hatib, he was an architect, engineer. Later on, in the Greek time, he was identified as god of the medicine, god of the healing. So here we'll find Hatib seated as a god of medicine, as a god of healing. And in front of him is the famous Roman emperor Trajan or Trajan.
The first medical instruments can be clearly seen in these panels, starting with a prescription and washing of the hands before an operation. In a cabinet next to the prescription, we can see forceps, scissors, a stethoscope, and bandages. Next to the temple, a small museum displayed the mummies of 3 crocodiles, perfectly preserved offerings to Sobek, the god of evil. Back on board the Queen of Sheba, we stop at 2 more temples, one called Edfu and the other Esna, before finally arriving in Luxor in the Valley of the Kings. Alabaster comes in different colors depending on where it was found, from white to brown honey and sometimes dark green. The raw stones are carried by donkey from 70 miles away, a round-trip journey of 4 to 5 days. The raw pieces are then shaped with a hammer. The hole is not drilled right away because it will break. First, the stone will be left in the sun to harden. Then a series of blades are used to open a hole in the vase. The vessel is then worked again with files and polished with a stone tool to give it a nice finish. After polishing, the vessel is placed in an oven at 150 degrees for half an hour and then moved outside to cool. The alabaster factory is only a short distance from the next big surprise, just around the bend. This is the mortuary temple of Queen Hatshepsut. As we make our climb up to the site, we pass a massive stage where the opera Aida will be performed. It's rumored that Omar Sharif will be in attendance. Constructed over 3,000 years ago and found buried under hundreds of tons of sand, the three-tiered temple of Queen Hatshepsut was designed to reflect the patterns displayed in the red sandstone cliffs. Two enormous ramps connect the three levels. The approach was once lined with sphinxes carved in Hatshepsut's image.
Vision child, but little did I know, he was always talking, child, about the heart and soul, till one day some pharaoh came and he offered up his door. In the valley of the kings, in the valley of the kings, the kings.
Along the front of the upper terrace, a line of large, gently smiling Osiris statues of the queen looked out over the valley.
Lives up in a tower now, very high upon a hill, and people come from miles around, only hoping that he will turn their dreams right into gold. Could he turn their worlds around? And if he does, he'll keep it on. Then he'll stash it underground, down in the valley of the kings, in the valley of the kings, the kings.
Across the river from the Valley of the Kings is the greatest temple in the whole world. Karnak Temple was constructed over a span of 1,300 years by such rulers as Seti I and Ramses II. The temple is dedicated to the sun god Amun-Ra. The tour starts by walking along the Avenue of the Sphinxes and through the first pylon. Most temples have only one pylon, while this temple has 10 pylons, plus a sacred lake and many smaller shrines. There are 30 dynasties in Egyptian history. This temple was built from dynasty number 12 to dynasty number 25. Standing in the first open court, a small shrine dedicated to Amun-Ra can be found along one side. Also found here is a giant statue of Ramses the Great. He ruled Egypt for 67 years, has 44 wives, 195 daughters, and 134 sons. This obelisk still has its original coating of electrum adorning its upper half. Electrum is a mixture of gold and silver.
What's written in hieroglyphic here in the shaft of this obelisk as well as the other one? Hatshepsut telling us the story, she's saying that they took me 7 months. She means the 2 obelisks. They took me 7 months of hard work to be cut from the quarry in Aswan, to be transported upon a sailing boat from Aswan to Luxor, to be erected in Luxor. Took me 7 months. Ra is in horizon, and this one is Alexander the Great as a pharaoh, as Egyptian king. Have a look at the difference between the 2 styles, Allah Khalil. Deep sunken relief, you see the deep sunken relief, and the high relief. Here the Egyptian artist has done what? Make the guidelines, you see the guidelines first, and then removing the surrounding parts to be clear to the eye to see. That the Greek-Roman artist has done, or the Egyptian artist in the Greek-Roman time, has done what? Make the guidelines and carve it inside, you know, and leave it as it is. So this one is much harder than this one. Is it right? Yeah, this is the higher relief, this is the deep sunken. Which is equal to the west side, as if you would like to go to the west side, looking for resurrection, looking eternally. You would like to live forever eternally. Once again, or another explanation, by advancing the left leg, that means making a balance of the statue. Once again, by advancing the left leg, supporting the heart. Finally, by advancing the left leg, as it is a military march, or a military march, you know. Nowadays, in police, in army, when they begin to march,
Here was conceived and lived the great week of the creation of the world and the separation of the earth from the waters. You are at the house of the Father.
Himself as a son, and wished to leave his mark upon it.
Each added, superimposed, overdid, outdid, through a span of 20 centuries.
The result is this fabulous labyrinth of facades and passages, esplanades and corridors, perspectives and detours, to which only priests and Pharaoh had access.
The Vade-Mecums, the guidebooks for the journey which accompanied the mummy, are called Book of the Dead, Book of the Gateways, Book of the Caverns, Book of the Night. They are the only books ever to attempt to produce maps of the other world.
And it was upon this land, where the swarms of wild duck alighted, the only land above the floodwaters, that men have built the city of God to the glory of his creation.
In the time of its full splendor, this citadel could only be reached by a royal canal and a sacred avenue. The pharaoh, aboard his barge of glory, could moor here, welcomed on the holy quayside in the shade of the sycamores by the pontiff and his numberless retinue of priests with their feather fans.
For his name is Tutankhamun.
His makeshift tomb was dug in the very floor of the Valley of the Kings. Over there.
It escaped the looters for 3,000 years. And in 1922, everything was there.
The sarcophagi, one inside the other. The statues, the jewels of gold, the sacred and profane furniture, the alabasters, the porcelains, that prodigious treasure that still draws the crowds, and that mask encrusted with lapis lazuli and cornelian, which stares at us from the depths of the night with the enigmatic smile of an immortal young man.
The next morning, we returned to Karnak Temple because there is still so much to explore. We want to see the greatest hippo-style hall ever built. But first we will pause in the open court, where we find Ramses II depicted on a superhuman scale. It's hard to find a temple that doesn't have his name chiseled on it. That doesn't mean that he built the temple, but he was a selfish man, and he wanted to commemorate his name by writing it everywhere. The hippo-style hall of Amun-Ra's temple contains 134 columns. The hall is 330 feet long and 170 feet wide, covering an area of about 56,000 square feet. The 12 tallest columns, each 79 feet high and 12 feet in diameter, raise the roofing slabs above the other columns, allowing light and air to enter. The tops of these columns are shaped like open papyrus plants, while the shorter columns are shaped like closed papyrus plants. Archaeologists believe that the Egyptians built these massive columns by filling the space with layers of sand. Then they could set up the next block on each column until the full height is achieved. They would then shape and decorate the columns as the sand is removed. All the columns and walls depict Ramses II making offerings to various gods. Back in Cairo, we hire a taxi to take us back to the Giza Plateau to see the Great Pyramids up close and even go inside one of them. As we approach the Giza Plateau, we see the Great Pyramid appear from behind the buildings. Standing next to the only existing member of the Seven Wonders of the Ancient World is a thrilling experience for everyone. Looking up its steep side is enough to make you dizzy. A small section of the original casing stones remains intact and shows the precisely cut blocks laid down 5,000 years ago. At the base of the Great Pyramid, we find a new building housing the excavated and reassembled royal boat of the pharaoh. It was found in a long pit cut into bedrock and covered with large limestone blocks. The prow and stern are in the form of stylized papyrus stalks, essentially a replica of the papyrus reed boats. The boat is 142 feet long and 18 feet wide. It's made from 1,224 individual pieces of cedar from Lebanon. These giant limestone blocks, weighing 20 tons each, were used to seal the pit. The pit was carved into the bedrock, complete with rabbeted edges to accept the ceiling blocks. For our last day in Egypt, we hire a taxi to take us to see the City of the Dead. On the way there, we see a side of Cairo we could never have imagined. It wasn't the sheep in the road that surprised us. When our taxi turned the corner, we immediately started seeing sidewalk displays of red clay pottery of every shape and size, being made in the most primitive conditions we have ever seen. The black smoke emitted by the hundreds of kilns is a major source of air pollution in Cairo. Because of Egypt's chronic housing shortage, an estimated 5 million people have taken up permanent residence in Cairo's cemeteries, now called the City of the Dead. Our driver is taking us to the mausoleum of Muhammad Ali and his family. Muhammad Ali ruled Egypt from 1805 to 1848 during the Ottoman Empire. Through a set of ornate bronze doors, we enter a large room used by the family during the mourning period. A second bronze door takes us into a large central crypt with an ornate stone shrine in the center. The lower walls are decorated with colorful marble slabs, which change to brightly painted plaster walls rising up to meet an impressive domed roof. The ornate stone shrine in the center of the room is for Muhammad Ali's mother. A large stone slab extending above the base is adorned with a braided gold ponytail, signifying that this is for an important woman. In the distance, we can see the minarets and dome of the Muhammad Ali Mosque, located inside the Citadel, one of Cairo's most popular attractions. The Citadel has been a strategic military fortress for 800 years and is one of the world's greatest monuments to medieval warfare. Situated high above Cairo, the Citadel functioned as a royal city, surrounded by walls rising 30 feet high and 10 feet thick. With great round towers protruding from the walls, defenders could direct flanking fire on attackers. A prominent feature in the citadel is the Muhammad Ali Mosque, built in the style of the Blue Mosque in Istanbul, Turkey. From the chaos of Cairo to the grandeur of Karnak and the solitude of Aswan, the many sides of Egypt made this an unforgettable trip.